Then on the product versus team discussion, I think it's interesting that products are becoming kind of the driver, and that's driven because of AI primarily, of course. But if you look at how product development used to be in the past, you would lock with your team in like a basement or garage or whatever for months and develop something. The development cycles were really slow. So you can't really iterate faster and release new products. And that's why the team was really important aspect. You have to have the right team and be able to persevere over a long period of time and try different products or build one product until it's perfect.
So we're back again for another week of the Messy Middle. No guests this week. Everybody's on vacation. We're not going to bother any of our friends to get on the podcast. People we don't know. We wanted to keep this summer. We want to keep this summer between you, and us, right, guys? I mean, I feel like that's. So today it's an intimate conversation today about the early stages. Let's say once you've figured out what you want to do in the Messy Middle. And actually, I think this is important because I had a conversation with a founder today who's a post-exit founder, and it took him a year to get to his next idea. And he was telling me how difficult it was over the last 3 months of committing to it, getting the team excited and getting on the early product, and he forgot how hard it was. So that's why I think this topic that we want to talk about is interesting. Frank, what is the topic?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like we'll have some guests in September. As you said, like things are a little slow right now, and we want to keep it like personal. I think the product versus startup thing is one general subject that's often being discussed, but I think it's a different thing when you're a second time, third time, fourth time into it. And maybe it's the wrong analogy, but I guess when you're dating someone, you're used to a certain type of things, certain type of experience you had in the past that ended up being successful if you did an exit. And it's very natural to kind of try to reproduce that. Sure. And it's natural to try to reproduce that. And often I think people might be lost because they don't realize that the number of combination of team, the number of combination of market, number of combination of product will likely lead to a new business that will be extremely different from the experience you had before. And so, which might lead a lot of entrepreneurs not to jump into their next stuff because they're like, I don't recognize that. I don't recognize the traction I had. I don't recognize the team dynamic I had. To me, it's never been an issue because I always had an approach that's, I guess, research-based. And so I know that. And so I don't really care. I know that every experience will be different. And I approach it by maybe, I just say yes to anything and then I kind of see where it leads. And, most of the time it doesn't work, but I know that that approach have more chances to succeed than me trying to reproduce exactly what happened before. And so, I don't know, maybe we can talk about that. But after that, about personal taste, I think it depends. But right now, because starting to explore something with Teddy, I'm really, really, really focused on product, I think. And I see that more and more. Elon, everybody stopped talking about startups and everybody start talking a lot more about product lately. It's a general trend, and I don't know, I think it'd be cool to talk about that.
When you say everybody's talking about product lately, what do you mean exactly? Like they're talking about product versus vision?
No, product versus startup.
Okay.
And I saw that semantic shift happening, at least.
So you're saying like we're gonna create the best product versus we're gonna create the best startup.
Yeah, and I think the shift is happening because the market kind of got that founders understand how fundraising works or VC works and all of that works. And so often people say, I want to do a startup and my, whatever the product. And I think we're kind of back in that loop where product works best. Also, the thing I often hear for AI stuff is that people say, why would you do this thing if it's just an API call to ChatGPT or sorry to OpenAI or any of these things? And it's kind of funny. It's like saying Airbnb was like, oh, why would you do Airbnb if it's just a MySQL and PHP? And I don't know. I find the time very interesting. There's a little bit of repeat from the 90s. But I do like the product focus. I think that's like the general trend is going to be cash product. I mean, anyway, we're back to basics, and I forget who has Will. I forgot. The startup.com was talking about like the silent crisis, or the silent slowdown in the venture world, where there's a crisis but no one talks about it, and that could be also part of the effect of that. Anyway, I'm throwing a bunch of ideas out there so we can discuss.
I think when you discuss about focusing more on the product and the startup, I think for a lot of people, they don't know how to think of them as two separate entities, because they normally think of the startup as going to create the product, versus the product in theory should be the creation of the startup. But like for me, in my view, I've always raised money on just a piece of paper. Of course, and eventually raise money with the product and everything. But it's like when you're doing a team and you're on a team, when you're on a team and you're doing sort of team creation, you think of like the various roles. And I kind of agree with you that the product is the most important, because no matter what, if you raise a lot of money,
I mean, don't get me wrong. The team is of course the most important thing, but I assume you have all of that. You're starting to momentum.
Exactly.
You've got all of that, and now you're like, you have the mean to what? Where do you have a team for?
Yeah, and then why do you have the money? So I think the other question: why do you have the money, and what are you going to do with it? And if you're a second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, 20th, whatever time founder, you should be able to raise the money pretty easily. And why you're doing it probably is not because you can raise the money. It's because you have something you actually care about, and you're going to be way less naive, which means you're going to know how hard it is.
Maybe I think the other thing you realize when you have experience, I don't know for me if it would be keep easy or not to raise money, because I did non-profits and for profits also, but but the thing I think you realize, at least I realize better now with experience, is that you don't need much to raise money, or even if you need to raise money. It's really anything that has any kind of business potential. That's what capitalism says. You believe there's oil, that's enough. You can go out there and talk about it. Well, I feel like when you're a first-time founder, you might not realize that. You might think you're not ready to raise, or you might think, depending on your education, I guess also. But it's like, if you have anything that has the hope of having some kind of business, congratulations. That's good enough. You should move. And the level, thinking about it, like the number of startups I could have developed when I was younger, in my 20s, I didn't even think that were startups. I was just developing. I was just developing stuff. I was just coding, and I was like, cool. Like, that's a cool open source project I can push. At no moment I was thinking, and now I realize like a lot of these could have been really cool product. I'll give you an example. I did develop way back when I was an intern, using something called Pixie, like a protocol that you have when you boot your PC and you have a network card. And I developed some drivers. I modified some stuff at that time so you can install any operating system at a distance. And then you're like, fuck, could have launched Amazon. But you just never thought about, like, I was just like, that's cool. I can install the computer, from internet.
So the lesson learned here, the lesson learned here is just do it, folks. I mean, the challenge you were also in France being.
But the lesson is different for experienced founders. Again, to me, the main message is be very careful about trying to take the past signal as your validation for this is good. Be careful about your past experience. Would be my main message.
Yes.
History does not repeat in the startup world. It's very rare.
I mean,
although I do see a pattern where a lot of people try to repeat history and they always fail.
Always. Although there's like the rare occurrence.
I'm sorry. Just one last bit, but it's like acting. I believe like some of my friends, for example, you're like typecast, and you keep doing the same startup over and over again.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's bad, but
okay.
but it does happen.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, you're doing that one again? You're doing social economy again? Like,
yeah, whatever. It's like you need a social
doing...
network, and then you're gonna do a social network with AI, and then you're gonna do a social network with VR, and then a social network on a blockchain.
So what I have to say is I used to always kind of make fun of the founders that go like from hype to hype, but I actually think hype to hype is a good way to do it for second time founders because you're following a wave. But you just need to make sure you get in on the wave in the right time. So like founders that went from crypto to AI.
Yeah.
Well, no, no,
Oh
no.
yeah.
It was not
Everybody.
crypto to AI. Let's not forget. It was
NFT.
crypto climate. No. It was crypto NFT climate change AI.
Yeah. To AI.
So
Yeah, sure.
like
But
and
but
that
hold on. Dive into that. What creates that hype? What's a hype?
well, I mean, what creates the hype is the fact that there's a ton of money that's going to be going into it. Number
Yeah, but
one,
why? Why? You
one
see,
second,
why
one
is that
second.
money allocated? Yeah,
That
it's
money is
interesting.
allocated. Okay, there's like lots of different reasons, but if you look at it from the VC and the LP angle, they want to have the biggest opportunity where they can get a outsized power law return, right? So they're going to say,
Yeah, but
okay, what?
you can go deeper. Like why this color? Why this thing? And the hype is always the same. The hype is because there's something new.
Yeah,
And
no,
something new is weirdly enough very rare. If you go to the
yeah,
Middle Age, there was nothing new
yeah,
for 3,000 years. And now we just have new shit every 5 years. And any tiny new thing, it means you can change the whole business. And so,
right.
like, it's good bets.
Right, and that's why I think a lot of some of the best founders actually go from, crypto to climate to AI. And this could be like quite controversial of a comment to say, but like you look at somebody like, Andrew Carnegie, like he was not doing steel in the beginning. He was
Yeah,
doing he was looking at whatever the biggest thing was at the time. I think it was
yeah.
oil, right?
Train and
Train.
oil and
Yes,
yeah.
so
It was oil. So, and then I think like
Train
they figured
first, and then they're like, what can we put on it? Then the oil. Then after that, the oil
something
was
like that.
replaced
Yeah,
by electricity
exactly.
for the lamp.
So,
The No, but another thing, though, I was wrong when I said it's always something new because you mentioned climate. Climate is another one, which is the government might create the hype. I
yeah,
would stay away from any government hype.
yeah, because you're
Um,
not going to win.
no, I
So,
mean you could
unless
unless you have good friends. Sorry, I would do it
unless
if
you
my
know
friends
people
are
in the
working
government,
with a
yeah,
government. Yeah,
yeah,
then
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
it,
yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
that.
Unless you work for Electus, that's a great company. And
Yeah,
this episode sponsored by Electus. Thank you so much for the
you're welcome.
sponsorship, Teddy. You can send the Venmo request to Frank for this month's payment. We really
But
love Electus.
Electis is on the side of the people. Like we do work with government, but
Inside of
in
the
a
people.
transparent way. But
So,
it's yeah.
Teddy, what do you think about some of our commentary here? I know you're in the middle of getting ready to
mm,
go for your European adventure, so
yeah.
He's
you
all
might have other.
depressed now. He's like, I have to go back
I'm
to
I
in
don't
New
think
Europe.
there's
York. I'm
anything.
wearing the New York Yankees hat. New
Yeah,
York
I
or
don't want to
Yeah,
leave
but
New
like
York.
go Mets.
Go Mets, go Yankees, go Knicks. I'll eat a hot dog with a rat on my subway.
There's always this bitter feeling when I'm
Pizza
leaving
Rat.
New York,
Pizza rat.
Yeah.
just overlooking on your back and you see the skyline.
Like sad saxophone.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna
I
mute
can
you
imagine
guys
Teddy
before
walking
I
at night, with
continue
some photo,
talking
like, I
here.
didn't know I was leaving New York
Yeah,
that day.
sure.
I felt home now.
Okay, so Frank is muted.
This is like
I
the
think
Trump
it's a
debate.
very interesting what's going on with the product direction. But I just want to say that there's nothing wrong if you jump on like an opportunity. You're an entrepreneur, you see something very interesting, and it's an opportunity for you to build something that people want, and why not? You can do it regardless. I mean, people try to do things multiple times and they fail and they fail and they fail, and then eventually they succeed. It's fine if you go from climate to crypto to whatever, as long as you are credible, trustworthy person, as long as you don't scam people. So
But
there's
even then,
nothing wrong there.
sometimes.
And then on the product versus team discussion, I think it's interesting that products are becoming kind of the driver, and that's driven because of AI primarily, of course. But if you look at how product development used to be in the past, you would lock with your team in like a basement or garage or whatever for months and develop something. The development cycles were really slow, so you can't really iterate faster and release new products. And that's why the team was really important aspect. You have to have the right team and be able to persevere over a long period of time and try different products or build one product until it's perfect. But right now with AI, I don't know if you guys saw Cursor.ai, they raised 60 million round now. It's crazy. I started using it like a month ago. I'm like superpowers squared. It's very powerful. You just type it in English. You still have to have that problem solving mindset. You still have to know what you're talking about. But this thing builds like.
Sorry, I'm just checked.
Yeah, I think it's com AI whatever.
There are new
you'll find it
this week. No
yeah,
longer
but
elected.
it's that changes the game, and of course, product will be really important right now because it doesn't matter. And for me, it's always that the case where I want to work alone or in a very tiny kind of structure, 2-3 people, and iterate on product, build things faster until something works. And when you get to a point where your product works or there's enough interest, then you can start building the team. What used to be the opposite in the past.
Yeah. No, I think
so. I like this direction. And another point that I want to mention, Frank, before you continue, this culture of, and I think I put that in my predictions. We'll see a lot more startups created by solo founders. This bootstrapping approach where you don't go the VC route, where you just build couple different projects, they each generate some revenue, and then you start building on top of it. So I think I really like this direction, and
that's super interesting.
These are the reasons.
That's super interesting. I agree with both points. I think the first one is the VC. Why do we need VC? You know, it's like to pay yourself and blah blah. But I mean, if you're able to already pay yourself, work towards bootstrapping, you know, why would you take VC? And so if you need less team because you need less dev, then that makes sense. I agree with you on the team. On the evolution on the technical side, I still think the team is greatly important, but you know, maybe people can do startups alone. But you made me think about an evolution. I guess the same happened in a video game. The same happened before with servers and all of that, which is in the past you needed really good developers in your team because that would translate into business. You know, if your video game at like 50 frames per second versus 5 frames per second, that's the difference between being able to sell it and not sell it. Now with Game Engine, you don't need to. You need to be a developer, but there's like millions of them. It's not a barrier to launch. It's not a barrier to launch a business. Right now, you know, if you have the best AI researcher in the world, you know, versus just tapping into an API with OpenAI or with some whatever Llama or open source models, you can still build a business. Like the difference between having your custom model that's going to do exactly what you want, you know, that you train yourself with millions of dollars versus doing an API request, it's not worth it. It's not going to be a barrier of entry to business.
Yep.
And so I agree that barrier is, you know, dropping. On top of that, I guess on a personal interest, I believe that language barrier and distance also, you know, collapsing. And so not only that, but even if you need someone, you can have a brilliant developer that, you know, that lives far away and doesn't even speak your language. So we're
be in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I've got an amazing Nigerian developer. We need to catch up on that. But the thing is, the thing that creates that vibe, the thing that creates the hype you mentioned before, it's always the same. It's happening now. We see it now, but it's going to take 5, 6, 7 years to become real. It's just the market is always excited right away when it sees things. It's never wrong. Everybody talks about the bubble in 2000. There's no bubble in 2000, in the sense that, you know, trillions of dollars have been created. It's just the people who were part of that thing that popped, you know, they tried to, they didn't deliver, but it took a lot longer. I'm like super excited about what's happening now. No one really knows what's going to happen, but it's nice to surf the wave. And just to add one thing, I was checking that, but I love the origin of terms and the etymology. Do you know where opportunity comes from?
Opos?
Good try. It's opportunus.
Something with the ports and the fishermen's and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You see, that's why I wanted to mention it. It goes back to
portos. Yeah.
So it means it comes from the Latin that meant the wind that blows you towards the port.
Interesting.
Anyway. So good job today.
You mentioned this last week or no? This is new.
Exactly. You see, so opportunity, like entrepreneurs, indeed, like sell the opportunity. You know, it's like, oh, this wind, it's gonna go to port. I'm gonna land it.
I feel like you'd be a very good guest lecturer at Stanford. Probably
oh my god.
Not. Yeah, like Stanford or MIT.
I'll ask Steve one day, but I don't know. I'll go to Elon's university.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or maybe like Middleborough Community College. One of those
Sure,
three
sure.
options.
I don't care. I would, but again, I love how words are always like a good compass. You know,
Yeah, they are.
even
They are.
artificial intelligence is interesting. Everybody says, "What's artificial intelligence?" It's pretty straightforward. It's artificial. It's the opposite of natural intelligence in a way, and so it's just you have virtual neurons and you have real neurons, and right now people are very excited about everything you can do that it doesn't do, but no one is excited about what it can do right now. And it's even worse than that. Like when you pitch the product, and we started to pitch it, people are like, oh, it's they already seen it. Like they're like there's no novelty into being able to talk to a virtual machine. So people are not excited about that anymore. But they don't think about the potential for business. It just take patience, and it might not be impressive, but little by little, like I think the value is going to be created like crazy, and maybe VC will pass on that, but there's always natural selection.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be a VC right now. I would launch a VC that invests in AI startup that don't build their own LLM. I would just do a VC that invests in people who tap into existing LLMs.
So that's similar.
I feel like a safer bet and be like, I'll invest in you if you found a business case.
So that's very
versus
similar.
I'm going to spend millions of dollars on research and hope that something will emerge out of that.
It's very similar to my board member of the SPAC. One of my board members was, and he was the general counsel and CEO of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
After working with George, he started a space venture fund, and they only invest in non-orbital, non-launch tech.
Satellites,
so like,
whatever.
Yeah. So like, and because his whole belief is that the cost will decrease so much because of SpaceX.
Yeah.
And he was also, he was general counsel of SpaceX before. After working for George, he worked for Elon for 18 months, and then he started this. So it's so, and a lot of people are like, well, it's a dumb idea. They're like, what? And now it's like, no, he made great investments in fantastic startups because none of those startups had to rely on building a friggin' rocket. So
exactly. No, people often make that mistake. They believe that if anyone can do it, why is there any barrier of entry? But I think the barrier of entry is not in the technology. Not always. Sometimes it is. But
it's
when
marketing.
it's not, the barrier of entry is in the obsession.
Yeah.
Into like the
But it's also the obsession plus the ability to market it properly to the right audience. So and
it's everything. You have to get the team right, the product right, the strategy right, the marketing right, of course. But
you can only obsess about one thing, right? So it's
exactly.
like you're like, well, we're going to be an energy company, and you're like, well, maybe don't be an energy company. Maybe you could just build like one part of the energy platform, and you could be the best in the world in that, and you could build a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, and putting my fake lecture at the other thing,
Community College lecture hat.
Exactly, my fake hat. The other thing that comes to mind, though, and that's not really related to the what's nexters and to the messy middle, but you have to make a big decision when your company becomes very big, and the decision is you have to choose if you're going to be customer centric, investor centric, or employee centric. And it's a really tough choice. And I'm always fascinated by that choice. I'll give you an example. Microsoft, it's investor centric. Amazon, it's customer centric.
Yep.
And Starbucks is going to be employee centric. And all of them has good reasons. Amazon will say if customers love us, they'll come back. It's great for business, great for the investors. If it's great for the investors, the employees will be happy, they have a job. If you're Starbucks, you'll be, if my employees are happy, then they'll serve a good coffee, then people will come back because the customer will be happy, and then the investors will be happy. And then Microsoft will be, if we deliver good value, and we can make like good profit, then our investors will be happy, which means our employees are aligned with our investors, which means they have to do good product for. But it's always fascinating that you have to pick one of these three. And it's so attached to the type of founders you are. I never made it to a multi-billion-dollar company that's public, but I always wonder which one I would be, and I wonder which one you guys would be.
At what point you need to kind of make that decision? How early or how late?
It has never been studied. Like it's like a scale up. Like there's not really any data about that. So honestly, I don't know. But my guess is it comes pretty early. I think it really starts to matter once you have more than one product, which is the hardest thing in the scale up. Because you always have a successful product. How do you get a second one? You did Google, how are you going to get Gmail? You did Windows, how are you going to get Microsoft Office? You did Amazon, how are you going to make like a cloud?
It's not Windows.
And it's like, as soon as you have two products that works really well, it's the hardest thing ever. It's like you have to win the lottery twice.
Where would you put Tesla on that spectrum?
Oh, that's interesting. They definitely don't give a shit about their investors.
But I think Elon does give a shit about
the
community of
customer-centric.
investors.
I think Elon's super customer-centric. That would be my bet.
Customer-centric, but also he really listens to his investors as a community, not the large funds.
Yeah, there's
a
weird alignment between investors and customers, but I think, like usually investors don't care about product, so I would still believe I would put it under customer.
I think customers is like the lowest hanging fruit, because it's like you're facing them very early on, and you can position yourself to make them feel welcome, like feel comfortable using your product, or just talking to you, having access to you as a founder, CEO, or whatever your role is. I would be that type of person. I think I love that relationship. But
a famous example was Costco. Also, I think I heard was it an interview I heard? But when the guy said, why don't you sell your pizza and your hot dog, more?
Why don't you sell your hot dog more?
I think it was the hot dog. And the guy said, why? We make a profit. We're a good company. We have good employees. Why do I need to make more money?
Yep, and the hot dog's the secret. I think the chairman and CEO was like, if you raise the price for the hot dogs, I will resign.
Yes.
So I actually had a Costco hot dog.
Such a great example.
Sunday. Oh my God. And I love their hot. I mean, you're not supposed to eat hot dogs, but I love their hot dogs. I had it on Sunday night.
Why aren't you supposed? I love it. I felt
every day.
I really became American. To me, it wasn't when I got the green card. It's when I got my Costco card. I was like, wow, I made it. I'm American now.
There's Costco in Iceland. I always go to the Costco in Iceland. We didn't go to the Costco in Iceland when we were there. Oh, we were too busy.
We missed the volcanic eruption too.
That's true. Yeah, we'll go back for the ice. We'll get some. Okay, so my startup story at Costco Iceland is, when I did Gamma, our first trip was to Iceland to raise the money from David Helgeson, and we were trying to cheap out.
We should interview David, by the way, if he's around.
Yeah, we can interview him. And we were cheaping out, and Costco just opened in Iceland, and I think we just had we had Iceland Costco hot dogs and pizza the whole trip, and
we whale and dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do we have a quote for this week?
Oops.
Anybody have a quote?
Do you have a Macedonian quote, Teddy?
Not really. I have a book here that I can read something from. I have not read this book. My wife's reading it right now, but it's really...
Teddy randomly opening a page.
No, but
it looks good.
No. I have this prepared. She's... I mean, the book is called The Courage to Be Disliked.
Yeah, we know Courage
from the airport.
I don't
know that book.
I don't like that book.
I don't know. She shared some good stuff from
it's a
what
shitty
she read.
Book. I don't like that book. No.
I mean, it's one way to look at things.
You're building a strange loop here, Gabriel. You're saying something that makes you being disliked about the book. It's clever.
Yeah. I really just don't like the book. I read it, and I'm like...
He read the book. He's just applying the whole thing, Like, he wants to be disliked. We dislike you, Gabriel. You win.
No, I have a quote.
The courage to be disliked, I think you can... Yeah, there was a quote about that, right? Which is, it's better to have enemies.
Yeah, go ahead if you have a quote. This is more like
if you will it, it is no dream. And if you do not will it, a dream it is, and a dream it will stay. Theodore Herzl.
Oh, there was a Schopenhauer quote about the will that Einstein liked. It's like, you can wish what you want, but you cannot wish what you will, something like that. It's about free will.
This is my week for the quote, not yours. You should have saved that for next week. No.
Yeah, you can will what you want, but you cannot wish what you will. Good. That's good.
Bye.